Let's talk about the big news, though, gentlemen. We knew it was coming down. Shout out to Hard. Hard said it wasn't going to be a late news dump. It's going to be an early news dump, and it was an early one. Going to give everybody time to digest it and process it. The NBA has decided to suspend Grizzlies star guard Ja Morant 25 games without pay for intentionally and prominently displaying a gun on social media in a car with associates. Morant's second time being suspended for brandishing a firearm on social media in 3 months. The suspension also comes with conditions for his inevitable return. The NBA announced while it's a significant suspension, the league did not use a sledgehammer basically to kind of drive home the point. They could have suspended him half a season. Some people thought it could have been even more than that. It also points out, this is from Adam Silver, his quote, Ja Morant's decision to once again wield a firearm on social media is alarming and disconcerting given his similar conduct in March, for which he was already suspended 8 games. The potential for other young people to emulate Ja's conduct is particularly concerning. Under these circumstances, we believe a suspension of 25 games is appropriate and makes clear that engaging in reckless and irresponsible behavior with guns will not be tolerated. For Ja, basketball needs to take a back seat at this time. Prior to his return to play, he will be required to formulate and fulfill a program with the league that directly addresses the circumstances that led him to repeat this destructive behavior. So there you go. There was a statement by Ja Morant via Woj. Quote, I've had time to reflect and realize how much hurt I've caused. I want to apologize to the NBA, the Grizzlies, my teammates, and the city of Memphis, to Adam Silver, Zach Kleiman, Robert Pera, who gave me the opportunity to be a professional athlete and have supported me. I'm sorry for the harm I've done. To the kids who look up to me, I'm sorry for failing you, as a role model. I promise I'm going to be better. To all my sponsors, I'm going to be a better representative of our brands. And to all my fans, I'm going to make it up to you, I promise. It goes on, but that's the gist of it. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Was that 25 enough? Too light? Too heavy? What do you guys think?
Well, my initial number was 30, right? I sent you guys that this morning. I said I thought it was going to be 30 just because of the number of things that could go into this. And what I mean by the number of things that could go into this is, number one, you have now cost yourself escalators. That's the thing about it, too. So you've not only failed yourself as a player, because I'm sure the suspension, I don't even know if it's without pay. It should be. I think it is. Yeah, so with that being said, you've lost money on that end of it. You've also, and again, it's not always about the financial ramifications. But in this day and age where the dollar bill is very important for a lot of things, he is dealing with a lot more than just that dollar bill from the suspension. You're also losing money as an escalator as far as you being able to make postseason awards. You're not going to be on the All-Pro team or the All-NBA team where you're making X amount of dollars, where you can go into a different tax bracket from that. All of your incentives now have been kind of wiped out. You don't have extra layers that you can make money in. So that's that. Then he's also gave out the information about the sponsors. Now your sponsors are looking at you a little bit different. But most importantly for me, and, I'm more about the athlete being able to have that freedom of speech and freedom of being free. But at the end of the day, you still have consequences. Freedom is not free. I don't understand why people say, well, you can have the freedom of speech. Like, there's consequences for your speech too. And your actions create another totally different situation. For Ja, his financial drop is unbelievable. It is going to be substantial for his future earning potential. Now, can he go out there and rectify some of this? Possibly. But this is strike 2 for you, Ja. You understand that. You understand now that all of your extracurricular activities come with a price. And as a parent, we talked about this yesterday. As a parent, you kind of get caught up in this. Where's his dad? What is his dad saying? His dad's on the front row. His dad's on the front row having a good time and being recognized every time he goes somewhere as Ja's father. You get caught up in that. I don't care how people want to say, no. In this day and age, There's a lot that goes into this. This is something that will haunt him for a while. And I don't know if he's going to be able to clean it up because in the reality of it, yeah, it might get swept under the rug, but in the NBA circles, you have just lost yourself as the face of the NBA because you are the most electrifying player that is there. We were talking yesterday about what Joker is. He's not the superstar that is going to be the face of the NBA. We were calling him the entire time the Mike Trout. But in baseball, you know who they recognize? Ronald Acuna for the Atlanta Braves. He's an exciting player. He's one. Shohei Ohtani, he's an exciting player. He may not want the limelight, but he's still an exciting player. So there's going to be a lot of ramifications as we move forward in this entire NBA season.
What do you guys think, Patrick? You think he'll appeal this, or will he go with the 25?
No, I think 25 was probably. Okay. I mean, I could believe that there had even been discussions before that they were like, all right, this is something he won't appeal, and that's maybe why it was a little bit smaller than what people thought. I mean, in all reality, I thought it would be more. It doesn't bother me. It does the main things that it needed to do, which was cost him the money because money's going to matter more to him than missing regular season games at the beginning of the season. And at a certain point, you're hurting the team, you're hurting the fans more than you're hurting Ja Morant, giving him a vacation in the season. So I get it. I get that it sucks. But again, we talk about load management so much that people are, that you're upset you're not going to see these games. Well, that means 25 games he will not be at, and he is one of the most exciting players for young guys to watch.
Exactly.
So in a reverse of it, it hurts the NBA, it hurts young fans and everybody else. If you do suspend him for half a season, then that's so many kids that's another year they're not going to be able to see him because he's just not going to be going to like a lot of Eastern Conference teams that he only plays one road game at, and a couple of Western Conference teams. So I get it in that sense. The punishment is really you can't make an All-NBA team. It's going to cost you millions of dollars. That's really the big punishment of it in 25 games. So, but none of it matters. If he doesn't want to learn a lesson, then he won't.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll be right here again talking about it.
Yeah, he'll get suspended again, and they'll suspend him for a season next time. So go, dude, we gave you 2 slap on the wrists.
And the third strike.
And the third strike, we have to punish you. Yeah. Hopefully, though, everyone loves a good redemption story. Hopefully he turns around. He realizes, hey, man, I can spend my time doing some other, community work, and I can put that on Instagram, and I'll get way more likes. And everyone will be like, oh, my God, look at Ja. He's out there feeding kids, and he's out there doing a Thanksgiving turkey drive. And then, isn't this so much
Brown
better?
did, too.
No, I know, but hey, look, he's allowed to have a gun in his own house. Stop putting on social media.
Exactly.
No, that's what the argument is.
And I totally agree. If this is 100%. The question for Ja, are you a gun enthusiast? Do you like guns, or do you just like the perception of you being a tough guy, or you being street, or you being a gangster when you have a gun? Like, if you're a gun enthusiast, that's great. We live in Texas. There are tons of them. All right, we live amongst people who are really passionate about their guns, and that's fine. But with that passion needs to come responsibility, and the perception of Ja Morant is, because like I said, this is not a legal issue. Yeah. It's not right now. There's no justice system, all right, state-wise or federal, that's involved in this. This is him violating the NBA's kind of code of conduct, and him basically putting the NBA in a bad light because, as Harsh mentioned, he's supposed to be one of the stars. You brought up a really good question, Patrick. I don't know, this is months ago. And it was we were talking about the MVP. So it was basically probably late in the season, the regular season, we were talking about who's going to win the MVP, Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid. Yeah. And you brought up the point that, man, all the MVPs lately have been they have been foreign players, basically European players. They haven't been American-born players.
I think the 5 of them have been.
Yeah, it just seems like that. And then you look at the stars on the horizon, Nikola Jokic and Luka. Seems like actually
Victor Wembanyama's coming into the league now. Is another guy that people are projecting could get there one day.
Yeah, and that trend's going to continue. And I remember you asked the question, who's going to be the next American-born MVP in the NBA? I think Ja Morant's got to be the top of the list.
He's definitely up there.
He was.
Exactly. And that's the
he ain't winning next year.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. He kind of was, and this is like hurting that argument. I will say this. In addition to him abiding by all the criteria for suspension and all the stipulations, he needs to make sure he takes care of that. But he needs to change the narrative right now. The narrative about Ja Morant is that Ja Morant is a clown, an immature clown, that he's a child, right? And we don't let children be around firearms unless they're adults around, right? Yeah. And he handles it. He handles a firearm like a child. He needs to change that perception. So I don't know who are his publicists and his public relations people. I'm sure he's got a team around him. They need to work really hard over the next year because his basketball play will be fine. Like on the court, he's electric and he's fantastic on the court. This is off the court stuff. They need to work hard on changing the narrative, on reinventing his brand. You talked about it. That means a ton of community service, right? Lots of it, as much as you can get out there. But also, if you like firearms, you can flip the narrative of, oh man, I was just over enthusiastic about my love for firearms. We need to see him on a gun range. I've said this before. Like, why is he? There are tons of politicians across this country. They're shooting on their campaign ads using guns. They're usually shooting at a target. Right? They're not brandishing it, and wilding out and dancing with the gun. No. So I think he needs to change the perception. If he wants to be a responsible gun owner, do that. Hell, you should be with NRA. Some people, I'm not saying get political here, but the NRA is, the number one gun advocacy group in this country, and you need to be a part of that. All right? Yeah. These people need to get him in with NRA. He needs to be also seen as a responsible gun owner on some interview, on 60 Minutes, whatever. Malika Andrews, go out to a gun range with him, whatever. Get it done. Because right now, the perception is he is an irresponsible, childish clown.
Yeah. And that's the thing is it goes into two other actions that are reported that, the report is louder than his response to it. So when you have him start to pack up that, hey, he's threatening a kid that was talking trash to him at a basketball game.
Yep.
And he's threatening a security guard. And you're like, man, gangsters, like, why are you picking on people smaller? Like, why are you doing that? You have a posse of 7 people around you. You're all apparently packing heat, and then you're going to fight a 16-year-old.
Please don't call it a posse. Call it something else. Don't just say it, because that's the kind of perception we need to change. And it is a posse right now. It needs to be something else.
Yeah, no, it needs to be
associates,
a staff.
Yes, thank you, a team, whatever.
Your board of directors.
Yeah, because right now it's a posse, and they wield guns like one too.
But that's what I'm saying. If you have that narrative, and you have to change it to be like, no, look, we're not doing any of that. We're trying to be positive and uplifting towards the future, not this. And it goes into even, hey, man, no, we don't care about the West. You can't say that until you win. Like, you just, everything about him points this way of he's a real tough, he's a keyboard warrior.
Fake tough guy.
Yeah, and he's a fake tough guy. And you're like, man, you can't do that in a world where that is so hated at this point right now because there are so many of them as keyboard warriors and everything else that you're in a world where you're picking a fight that you don't want to be on the side that you're on. And so I hope
and
he
you're
does.
not going to win.
I
That's
hope
the
he
thing.
does.
You're not going to win.
Losing battle.
And that's
exactly.
what it says. I hope he gets the help he needs to change and just go, hey, man, you just need to change your outlook on things. Like, everyone's making fun of you. Everyone. Even the people you think you're making look cool. You with 12-year-olds that love guns. That's who your TikTok stars that are 12-year-olds. That's who you're trying to think you're cool. No, when you realize that everyone in America is making fun of you, then maybe you're not looking real cool doing all the things you think you're acting cool doing, and change that perspective and be like, oh no, you know what, they think I'm cool when I'm doing stuff like Shaq and just making tons and tons of money. He's an idiot doing a Papa John's commercial where you're like, yeah, the dude owns a lot of it. Yeah, that dude's a millionaire, and you go, that's sweet.
Exactly.
Oh, that dude's paying all his bills? That dude's cool.
Yeah, his definition of cool. That's like, dude, how old are you?
Shaq is walking through Home Depots making rap videos and also shouting out the people that work there. Those are the types of things that you need to invest your time in. I don't know why you feel like you need to live this type of lifestyle when your real name is Clarence. And Clarence got real good parents. You know what I'm saying? So when you sit there and you look at, as a parent, and this is me personally because I have an older child. I have a 30-year-old son that every single day we've had these conversations about consequence. And he's not Ja Morant and had been at this extra level, but he was my superstar. You know what I'm saying? So I looked at him as like, when people said good things about him, I was like, that's a reflection of me.
No question.
But I wasn't trying to walk around and be him. It's like some people Shaq grew up in a house, and since we brought up Shaq, this is the only reason why I'm bringing this up. Shaq grew up in a house with a military father.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, a military stepfather, but Phil is my father.
Mm-hmm.
When Phil spoke to him, he understood what the mission was. What's your goals? And he made him a good person. I'm not saying Ja's not a good person, but don't put yourself in these situations where you're constantly being judged. You're already being judged as an athlete.
No doubt.
Now you're increasing the volume, increasing the pressure of being an athlete, and now you are portraying yourself as this thug, and now society is looking at you as that.
This is what I'll say about the thug thing, because I think you're right. I think for him, the definition of cool, from whatever he's got in his head, he believes being cool is being associated with, oh man, I got a gun, that makes me tough. I'm living, remember Tupac called it the thug life.
Yes.
All right. By the way, it was way more deeper than just the thug life label, but that's a different discussion for a different day. I'll say this about because I'm talking about Pac here. Pac.
Happy birthday, Pac, by the way.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Today, he would have been 52 today.
Pac's birthday's today.
Today.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Yeah.
I did not know that, by the way, and I brought up Pac, so that was just serendipitous. Shout out.
That's why I'm here for you.
But Pac never had issues with the police until he himself spoke it into existence as a rapper.
Absolutely.
Before that, he had no issues with the police, had never been to jail, had never been arrested. And soon as Pac actually started rapping and started living his own version of thug life, because he had started living the actual lyrics that he had spoken to existence.
Yep.
That's when he, started getting the shootouts with cops and went to jail himself and got shot multiple times. It got wild. And for Ja, to me, that would be the warning, right? That's the story that you need to really, take caution and take heed of the lesson that should have been learned from Pac. Like, if you really know about Pac and his story, he didn't have trouble until he became a gangster rapper and started speaking the thug life into existence. Yeah. And he actually started living
it. Juilliard.
You
know what I'm saying? That mother was going to theater school.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, it took him out.
And what ended
up taking him out because guys were always trying to prove they were tougher than him. Real gangsters.
I was finna say.
He got into it. He started hanging out with real gangsters. Suge Knight was a real gangster.
Yep.
All right? Death Row was built on real gangsters. He started hanging out. And by the way, the smart one, Dr. Dre was like, I got to get the hell out of here. Hanging out with too many gangs. These guys are real gangs. So we actually, left and did his own thing. Snoop was smart enough to go, all right, I can't mess with these gangsters here. I'm going to go hang out with the gangsters in New Orleans because they're a little bit more gangster than the gangsters on the West Coast.
Exactly.
Nobody, even the West Coast gangsters won't go to New Orleans and try to mess with them gangsters.
Exactly.
All right? And it got way too serious. We all know that.
Deep.
It got way too deep. Rap shit, I don't give a damn about rap beef. It should never get to the point where it's life-threatening. And so I'm not saying that Ja is caught up in that, but you can kind of speak these things into existence a little bit, and it's a spooky way, an eerie way and I'm not trying to foreshadow anything, but y'all got to be careful about this kind of stuff, especially at the level that he's on. And I think Pac even said, I was shocked that so many people followed me and so many people listened to me. I did not realize the power I had. Ja doesn't realize the power he has. No way.
And he's 23 years old. I was dumb at 23 too.
Oh,
we all were.
We all were dumb at 23.
So dumb.
But you go when you say all this stuff and when you get these messages.
But we're in a different day and time at 23.
We are. But I'm saying he has a choice now of he can go and go, hey man, I need to start moving towards this direction because the sooner I get out of this stuff, the less damage I've done. And really, by the time I'm 26, this will be somewhat forgotten.
Yep.
If I go the right way, it's starting today. But if I keep going down this till I'm 25, things will get real bad. Because he hasn't done anything too terrible yet.
He has not.
And it's like, you're like, man, it's just, but everyone can see the signs. And as you just said, you're like, we're watching the same story that we've already seen multiple times.
Yes, sir.
And we don't want the ending that they had for you. So we're trying to cut it off before it even gets started. And that's what this suspension is supposed to be. That's why some people want it to be longer. I get why it's not.
The second suspension, by the way.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why it is.
But you have to hope that somebody gets around him. And this happens to a lot of young athletes. You want somebody to get around him that he will finally get to listen to him a little bit and just go, hey, man, I just got to change the direction of my life right now. Mm-hmm. And then all this at 23, they'll be, yeah, you were a dumb kid. You be sitting around joking about it when you're 35, 40 years old, you're retired. You'll be joking about, hey, man, wasn't I an idiot? And everyone go, yeah, you were an idiot. And that's it. but it could go really wrong really quick if you keep going down the wrong road.
I'll leave it at this right here. Brother. And like I said, I mean, I've been an idiot most of my life with a lot of situations that I've been in, but I've also been a very cautious idiot because one thing that's most important to me is life. Mm-hmm. And he's putting himself in a situation to where you are putting a lot of things out there on yourself that a lot of people don't understand. And if you run across the wrong person at the wrong time, you are putting yourself in a life and death situation. And I was just watching, I told you guys yesterday about the rich and shameless situation. I watched a story just the other night about a former Memphis Grizzly player who was all that. His name was Lorenzen Wright.
Oh, yes, I remember this. I saw it on Dateline.
Yep.
I saw it on Dateline, actually.
So be careful with the situations that you speak yourself into because of the fact you are the mark now.
Yes, you got a target on you, man.
You are the mark.
You got a target.
Because a real one is going to try you to see where your heart's at just because. Because there's a lot of people out there that don't care that you play for the Memphis Grizzlies. They don't care that you're worth X amount of dollars. You are now the person that if you really want to live that life, we're going to try to make you live that life.
Because they live that life.
And
they deem it disrespectful that you're faking that life.
Exactly.
No, I live that life. Which, by the way, I want no part of. I grew up with guys who lived that life, and I realized, I was like, no, I got no heart for that. I can't do it.
This is not what I'm made for.
Yeah, any possibility of me going to jail, nope, I'm done.
Call me what you want to, but call me away from you.
I'm scared straight.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
I'm scared straight.
That's exactly what Johnny knew that show.
Yeah,
Scared
oh my
straight.
gosh,
They bring them young knuckleheads in there.
Yeah,
at-risk
and they try to act like they hard until they have to spend a night in there a couple nights.
Some dude who killed in there for double murder. He's like, oh, you think you
grab my pocket? Grab my pocket.
Yeah.
And them dudes,
you staying with me all day.
You'll be in my cell.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like that's
almost none of that, bro.
I guess Jai didn't grow up watching that. I did.
We all did.